Hi everyone, I'm Suzanne Lively. Thank you for joining me. In today's video, I'm going to share with you our reading journey, as well as what we plan on doing for language arts for the remainder of this school year. The first part of this video where I'm going to share our reading journey is based on a response from a viewer who was so happy to hear a similar story to theirs. I thought I would share ours in case that really helps somebody else. And it has to do with the choice we made to teach our daughter to read later. Now, I say I because my spouse agreed with this approach, if that was the choice that I was making. But really, I had done a huge amount of reading. I made the final decision as the homeschool teacher. I guess I'm saying the responsibility is all mine. No, but I did a lot of research. I'll use an example. In Finland, for example, there's a lot of research saying that teaching your child to read at 5 or versus 7, in terms of their fluency when they get to about age 9, they're on par. The only difference seems to be in later years that a lot of the kids that are forced to learn to read before they are ready, many of them hate reading. And I was very nervous about that. And if it didn't make any difference, I thought, why not wait? And that's the decision that I made to do. So I decided not to teach my daughter to read at 4 or 5. It did have repercussions that I didn't foresee. And it mainly came down to the fact that we live in a totally different society than Finland. So for example, I live in North America. I'm in Canada. And what that means is all the public school children that my daughter is in other classes with, like extracurricular classes, they're on a different reading schedule than she is. And that's where it became an issue for us. And that I think if I were to do it again, I would make a different decision because of that. Or if you're going to make that decision and strictly stay within homeschool circles, that is also fine. It's when your kids start to mingle with public school kids and there is such an obvious difference that I think it can be a little bit hurtful for your daughter. And also, as a parent and homeschool teacher, I struggled to understand like where my daughter was supposed to be at because everybody had a different schedule. So it just wasn't always as obvious. Yeah, I'll say that. It wasn't. So it caused me as a parent and an educator, home educator, a lot of anxiety in the end that, yeah, I just wanted to make sure she didn't feel different and all those things. And I had struggled to find markers of where she was supposed to be at. And part of that is because I also watch a lot of homeschool videos. And when I see those, I see a lot of children that are really above reading level, or at least that's what I'm seeing. So I'm sure that's not the case in all families, but that's what I've seen. Or maybe I'm hypersensitive to that. I'm not sure. I'm just going to tell you that's a decision that we made. And now already I see my daughter is catching up by next year. She'll be totally on par. I do want to say something really positive, though, about this decision is because of certain books that I read, like, for example, Sarah Mackenzie's Read Aloud Revival and other books that I read about reading with children, I knew how important it was to read all kinds of books with our kids. And also in there, that particular book, Sarah Mackenzie's book, she mentioned the fact, in Jim Trellis's book, you know, he talks about reading with young kids as well, how important it is to do read alouds. And even if your kid starts to learn and she's reading like early readers and then their own chapter books, you know, they made a lot of notes to the fact that the vocabulary in those books are limited because your kids can only read at such a level. So to continue reading a lot of picture books tend to have a much richer and a varied vocabulary. So to keep reading picture books with your kids, and also I was introduced to audiobooks. And at first, as a massive reader, I was resistant to audiobooks, but this was the one sentence that hooked me. And it's really important to do a lot of read alouds with your children, but it doesn't have to be you that's reading aloud. So a audiobook is just as good as if you were reading aloud. And if you think about how that works for the developing brain, that makes so much sense. But when I heard that, it was like a light bulb went off and I started giving my daughter a lot of audiobooks. So her exposure to reading on all fronts was huge. And you can tell that when you have a conversation with her because of the vocabulary that she uses. And here's the thing that made me want to cry when I realized this a couple months ago is my daughter absolutely loves to read. She absolutely loves books. And that's what I wanted so much, was her to love books. And I was afraid, because I made this choice with her reading, that I somehow messed that up. That the very thing I was hoping to do, and the very reason I made the choice to start teaching her later, so that she didn't end up hating reading, that I might have caused the very problem that I was hoping to avoid. So I had a lot of nerves about that. I was so nervous. Anyway, that is not the case. The kid runs around. She loves books. And, I have books everywhere. We're at the library constantly. I'm always reading. She sees her dad reading. Now, he's reading news. So it's taken her a couple years to understand that he's been reading and that he hasn't been on there like playing games or something. But, now she's of an age, she really understands what he's doing and all the different things that he's reading on there in terms of research and that sort of thing. I digress. Anyway, I want to shout it from the rooftops that my child absolutely loves books and she loves reading. And she goes around and says things like that. And at first, I thought she was just parroting me, or I thought she might be saying it because she knew it made me so happy. And I really waited to see if that was the case, the latter in particular, that she wanted to please me in some way. And I've, just a couple months ago, there was a few things that happened back to back and made me realize I almost started bawling and crying like a lot, because I realized, no, this kid really loves to read. So yeah, definitely. I guess that's my message. No matter what you're doing, like, continue to read, give them audiobooks. And I will say this, the other thing I did with the audiobooks and that is that I really went for the books that she likes. So my daughter loves fantasy. I do too, but she loves the fantasy books. And there's been a few times I went, oh, please, can you let me read this? Because I so desperately wanted to read books with her. And she'll do it. And she has done it. But eventually I clued in to back off and just get her the book she wants. So I know there's a whole twaddle, conversation. I'm okay. Like, I just want, if she loves to read, and she doesn't tend to be drawn to a lot of the twaddle. Some of them, though, it depends on your definition. So anyway, that's a whole other conversation. I don't want to digress on that, because I love series, totally love series. And we've read tons of Magic Treehouse books. And I love it when she likes the series, because she can get books back to back. And I think it's fantastic. The last thing I want to say about the audiobooks is she is 8 years old. She cannot read middle grade. I love middle grade. She listens to a ton of middle grade on audiobook, and we have done that with her for a couple of years. So all of those things she's had. So I read to her chapter books, which she's now reading on her own. Well, some of them, the earlier ones. She's listened to middle grade on audio, as well as I read middle grade with her all the time. We still read a ton of picture books and resource books. So she's exposed to language and reading constantly. All right. That was a long spiel. Now, fast forward. This is what I chose. I bought this secondhand. Was hooked on phonics. This is what we started with. I started to teach Vivian to read when she was 6. So that would be grade 1. So we started off with the kindergarten for Hooked on Phonics. And that was what we did when she was 6. So when Vivian was 7, which would be grade 2, we did the Hooked on Phonics first grade. And before the year was over, we finished second grade as well. So she did all of these by the time she finished second grade, which would make her on par with second graders. Now, we get into third grade, and when we started third grade, I didn't know what to do in terms of phonics. I couldn't understand. It took me a while to understand why she had finished the reading program and there were still tons of words that she didn't know how to read. And I was debating last summer before the school term started. And then when the school term did start, I'm buying All About Reading. But honestly, it's a huge investment. I wasn't sure I wasn't even sure that's what I needed to do. I mean, we did the reading assessments online, but I still felt that she was kind of falling in between for resources, meaning She still needed some stuff that was ahead and a little bit behind, but she was kind of in the middle, and that would make that quite expensive all at once. So I didn't know what to do, and I decided to wait basically till I figured it out. So that was in the fall, and I did a lot of research, and I have to say, I'm really happy to say that I finally have a plan. Now, mind you, that first half of the year is gone. So now we're executing the plan, and this is what we're going to do for language arts for the remainder of this school year. Now, I mentioned that I was going to do this video. This is part of my Get It Together series. And if you want to see those other videos, definitely check them out. And that's where I talk about everything else we're doing in our homeschool. But I wanted to really focus in this video on not only our reading journey for those that need to hear that or want to hear that, but also what our plan is for the remainder of the school year. All right, let's jump in. So I didn't, like I said, do all about reading, but what I did do is I opted to buy all about spelling. Now we're on level 1, and yes, you can spell all the words in this level, but this program, unlike all about reading where they say take an assessment, for their all about spelling, they say to start at the beginning because you might have missed something. And I actually am happy about this because I think this is going to help Vivian with segmenting and sounding out words, because that's where the challenge is right now, is with sounding out some multi-syllable words. And I didn't really kind of know I couldn't figure out how to teach that. And there is no 3rd grade hooked on phonics. Anyway, we got it covered. So we're going to do all about spelling, and I don't know. I'm thinking we can get finished, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you know. I'm thinking we can get finished definitely this, and probably the next level 2, possibly level 3, but I don't know. If you've done the program, you might be laughing at me. But we have them, so we'll see what happens, and I'll do updates so you'll know where we're at. And the other thing I picked up, and this is really where we're going to learn more about segmenting and everything. And again, I started at the beginning, which is a bit irritating for both of us because she's beyond that. But I want to make sure we're just kind of pushing through now. There's no more arguments. We've kind of worked it out, and we're just doing the job. We're getting the job done. But it isn't until there, I had it marked. So really, this is a part really that she needs the most, multi-syllable words and breaking those down. Now, I thought about starting there, and I still fight myself each time we sit down and kind of want to start here. But I'm nervous because I want her to really understand how to sound out words before she gets here. I don't know if that's right or wrong, to be quite honest. That's what I'm doing. And she certainly won't be harmed from doing it. And now we just sit down and get the job done. So we'll just do that, and she should be good by the time she's finished this. And we will be finished this by the end of the school term. Now, I did go on Good and the Beautiful site, and their language arts program is free. Now, if you're a secular family like we are, you couldn't use their curriculum. Well, I mean, you could, but I wouldn't want to use all their curriculum because everything is very much Christian focused, which is just not our choice and not our values for a family. But I appreciate the fact that they're giving it to everybody for free. I think that's absolutely amazing. Now, I did go on their site and get their sight word ladders, and I'll tell you why. Because I did buy the complete book of sight words, and they're way too easy. My daughter already knows them. So I just got this a couple weeks ago and went, oh, I don't know. Obviously, I did not look at the inside enough, which is why I appreciate look insides on YouTube. So we've been going through these, and these are the couple that she didn't know on this sheet, for example. But I just thought this was an excellent supplement. And seriously, is that not beautiful? I'll show you another one just because they're so beautiful. Like, wow. Anyway, that's what we're doing for sight words. Now, for grammar, and I will leave a link to this down below, I did purchase this from Teachers Pay Teachers. And seriously, this is like for grade 1, and I'm totally okay with that because that isn't our focus. And she can do it and become familiar with all of the terms and using them, and she doesn't mind doing the sheets. So I'm just keeping it that simple, but still making sure she gets some, focus grammar. And this is a grammar pack. This is volume 1, and there's a volume. So it was a 3-pack. Volume 1 and volume 2, and there is a volume 3. Yeah, so it's very basic. This is for capitals. Go through and capitalize what needs to be capitalized. And here you learn, what's a noun, what's an adjective, what's a verb, that sort of thing. But I haven't done a lot of that with her, so I figured that's a great way. And she likes the sheet, so why not? Like I said, it is labeled grade 1, so that might not be of interest to you. I am totally fine with that. Okay, and Explode the Code. She's finished Explode the Code 3, as I mentioned in our last Get It Together video. But I have a whole stack going up to like Beyond the Code, and I will keep working through those. I think, like I said in the previous video, we are taking a little bit of a break for the next couple weeks before I get even more intensive schedule with all this on a daily basis. And when I do that, she'll be doing these 3 pages of these every day. All right, so that is what we're going to be doing for language arts for the remainder of this school year. Now, if you have any questions, please leave them down below, or something you'd like to know further, definitely let me know. And if you have a reading story you want to share, please feel free to do it in the comments below, or you can send me a direct message on Instagram if you feel more comfortable doing that privately. If you like this video, please hit like. If you'd like to see more like it, hit subscribe, and I will see you soon with another video.